and left, and my boss says, you might want to pack for Saudi Arabia. So I didn't cover just Iraq. I also covered Kuwait, but Kuwait was so small that we didn't really pay much attention to it. But nobody. They told me that day, I'm going to be working Iraq. And I said, Iraq, okay.
This is like 88 still?
Yeah, this is January 6th of 90.
Oh, so this is right before Desert Storm. Shit's about to get popping out there.
Well, but nobody knew that. And so I said, Iraq, okay. And my boss says, don't be disappointed. These were his exact words. He said, learn the tradecraft, learn the writing style, and then after a year, you can transfer to something more interesting, like Romania. And I said, oh, okay. So...
Did you speak Arabic?
Not yet. So I start working Iraq, and I became Saddam Hussein's intelligence community biographer, right?
Whoa.
Yeah. But who ever heard of Saddam Hussein in January of 1990? So things started heating up, and then I still remember the date. On June 30th, we published a paper in which we said we believed Saddam Hussein was going to attack Kuwait. June 30th. So this was 4.5 weeks before the invasion of Kuwait. And the night before the invasion, man, I was excited. Like I was so energized that I'm gonna be able to make something of myself here. And the senior analyst came over to me and he said, I think you're not understanding the import of what's happening right now. And I said, yeah? He said, it's not unusual for the countries we cover to go to war. It's very unusual for the countries we cover to go to war with us. The next morning, August the 2nd, 1990, I'm in the shower. Back then, we had these radio showers. They were like plastic waterproof showers you put in, or radios that you put in the shower.
Oh, yeah, I've seen Goodfellas.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Jimmy! Jimmy!
You son of a bitch!
I just watched that yesterday on the plane. Yesterday. I've watched it 100 times. Goodfellas. Greatest movie ever made.
That's pretty fucking awesome.
Anyway, they announced the invasion of Kuwait. So I rush into the office. I got there about 7. And my boss says, don't take your jacket off. We're going to the White House. I had never been to the White House before. So we get in a car. We go to the White House. I'm nervous as all get out. But I am the leading expert on Saddam Hussein. Period.
So you had spent how many months studying him?
9 months.
9 months now.
So some Secret Service guy takes us into the Oval Office, and it's the president, the vice president, the national security advisor, the CIA director, my boss, and me. The president sits down. I'm on a couch, right? And I remember looking around, like trying to be as serious as I could be. And I'm looking around thinking, my buddies would not believe this in a million years if I told them. If I called them and said, you won't believe where I am right now. So the president sits down and he goes, well, now what do we do? And everybody turns and looks at me. And I was 25 years old. So it takes me a minute, but I said, well, here's what we should expect Saddam's next steps to be. So we start plotting out what the heck we're going to do. And we got up and left. And my boss says, you might want to pack for Saudi Arabia. So I didn't cover just Iraq. I also covered Kuwait. But Kuwait was so small that we didn't really pay much attention to it. But nobody in America knew as much about the Kuwaiti royal family as I did. And so
in 9 months, you got all this down.
If this is all you do for 10 hours a day and then 4 hours on Saturdays, I mean...
Would you mind me asking, I don't know what's classified here or what's not, but like, they obviously, you're a young guy, but they're like, hey, congrats, you're on Saddam or whatever early on, which then leads to all these other things. But, you know, this is pre-Google era, pre-whatever that. You guys are also the CIA. You have resources
all the
today.
Files are on paper. So we had these enormous, like, floor-to-ceiling rotating file cabinets.
So is that what you were doing? You were just going through files? The whole thing? Were you calling people in the field like
No,
CIA contacts?
We had these proto computers called Delta Datas. The screens were like this big and they were all green, but we would get cables constantly from the State Department, the CIA, the NSA, the Defense Department, and then thousands, tens of thousands of pieces of press. So it's called all source traffic, all source cable traffic.
Could you use keywords to
Yes.
type in?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you had to be cleared for the keyword. Like I couldn't type in China. I'm not cleared for China at that point. That all changed later. But my job was Iraq and Kuwait. And if the cable had something to do with Iraq or Kuwait, I was going to see it. I couldn't see operational traffic. That also changed post 9/11. But I was already in operations by then, so it didn't matter to me.
How would you amalgamate all this? Was it literally like you see in the movies where, you know, you had a giant room and a board with a bunch of pictures and shit on it, and that's what you would do?
You know, I remember that day walking to the cafeteria. There was like a mini. We had our operations center up on the 7th floor, and they've got TVs going from half the countries in the world, and everybody's sitting at these tables and typing, and calls are coming in from around the world, whatever. But there was a place also on the 1st floor by the cafeteria, and I didn't know really what it was. I think the Office of Security had it, and had a map of the world, and there were lights, like pins, but they were lights in all the countries. And like the whole 8-9 months that I was doing my job, like maybe it would be flashing in, you know, Nepal because somebody massacred one of the royal family members, opened fire on the rest of the royal family, killed every last one of them. Right
in Nepal.
Yeah, so that's why there's no royal family anymore.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so Nepal is blinking, or you know the Shining Path is doing something in Peru, so Peru's blinking. I remember going to lunch that day, and every country in the Middle East is blinking. It was like a police car, and I was like, oh my God, this is bad. So I ended up flying out to the royal family escaped from the town of Ahmadi, which is the
Kuwait.
Yeah, Kuwait. It's in southern Kuwait. It's where the oil fields are. They escaped across the border into Dhahran, and from
Dhahran.
Yeah,
that's a country.
No, it's a city in the Saudi eastern province.
Okay, I was gonna say like that's a new one.
No, it's a city. It's where Aramco is.
Okay.
Yeah, and so from Dhahran they went to Taif, which is just outside of Mecca. So I went to Taif and was kind of the liaison with the royal family.
Is this in August 1990? Mm-hmm. Okay. So in those months, though, where you were studying Saddam Hussein and becoming his preeminent biographer, leading up to the meeting with the president in the Oval Office, let me preface this by saying this. I don't want to make any mistake out here. Saddam Hussein was obviously a very bad guy.
Oh, yeah.
He killed his own people.
Oh, my God. It was legendary.
I mean, his sons might have even been worse than he was. Like,
I would agree with that.
No doubt about that. And I'm sure you know way more than you've forgotten way more than I could ever know. That said, you know, we look at a lot of this hindsight 2020. Eventually we'll get to the later Iraq war. But to preface that right now, it's like, you know, we kind of went in there saying there were these WMDs that there weren't there. And when you look at the aftermath of what was caused as a result of us doing that, it is arguably at best and pretty much confirmed that at worst that it was actually better with Saddam in there. There's
no question about it.
Right. So
2 million people died because of this.
At the time. This is way back. Mm-hmm. Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.